Hi, it's Stephanie, and this is screener number 2 in a 5-part series that I'm doing for the stephanieharnett.ca website that I built in PowerPoint and Articulate. So this one I wanted to focus on the elements file. You can see here that I've got a number of different graphic elements. Almost 100% of these elements were created entirely within PowerPoint. I didn't use Photoshop very much for anything here. So I have an elements file that contains all the source material for these graphic pieces, as well as for some of the text effects too. So let's just pop over to that file and I can show you what it looks like. So the first slide is just a reference slide for me. It has the color palette that I'm using and the fonts that I'm using. It also has a number of different elements that make up the background of the website. So this is where they were constructed and built. You can see on slide number 2, these are the elements that were used to create the graphic effect for stephanieharnett.ca. And I've got that separated out, so if I wanted to change any of the wording, the font style, color, or the textured background, I can easily make that change. And then all I do at that point, once the change is made, is I would copy it and then and paste special as a PNG, or I would right-click and just save it out as a picture in the PNG format. And then that way I've got a graphic element. Now it's important to do that, or I've found that it's important to do that, to work with graphic elements as opposed to PowerPoint elements. And what I mean by that, like a rectangle with a fill or text would be a PowerPoint element. Sometimes if you add special effects like shadowing, or when you add animations, when you export it out into Flash, it ends up behaving in a way or looking different than what you thought it might look like. So what I do is I always work with the PNG format, and I find that I have consistent results when I do that. So just a trick that I use, and a lot of people are using that same trick. So here are some other formats for text and graphics. Here are some original source files for the buttons that appear on the welcome page, as well as the clickable continue buttons that appear within the website. So again, these are the original. So I can change the wording, I can change the lettering style size, the button size, and then again I just select it all and I save it out as a PNG, and I've got a new button. Here are slide number 6 are some elements I've used for engage interactions for the works profile section. Here's what I used for the notes and tutorial section of the website. So the original film strip are just rectangles drawn in PowerPoint, and then I've saved that out as a single PNG file, added some shadowing and some other recoloring effects. And then here is kind of the same idea with some reflection effects on there. And again, the reflection effects, once I do all that and add the effect in, I will save that entire thing out as a PNG file so that I'm not dealing with any PowerPoint graphic effects directly, so to ensure that the Flash output is exactly what I want it to be. A section of the website has a whiteboard on it. Here are the elements that are used to create the whiteboard. The whiteboard itself is just a rectangle drawn in PowerPoint with some shadowing and a nice gradient fill to make it look like a whiteboard. And that single rectangle was saved out as a PNG file. And here's where some of the Photoshop work came in. There's some pictures that I brought into Photoshop and did some pencil drawings of them, brought them back in as PNG files, and then assembled various arrows. These arrows came from Tom. He has a free handwritten font set. So I've also found here though that if you use the font proper, and if it's animated or you export it out into Flash, it sometimes doesn't look the way you want it to look. So like with graphic elements, I just made the arrow a graphic, a PNG, instead of a font, and that works just fine. Slide number 10 is for the work section. So here are all the boxes for the work section as well as for the home page, all the original assembly of these. So for example, if I wanted to change the compliance clipboard to be something else, I can just right click, change the picture. When I'm happy with it, just select it all and then save it out as a PNG. And I've got a new compliance button that I can then update on the website file. And that's about it. So that's what the element file does, and I think that it's actually very useful to separate your graphic and text elements out into that other elements file and then just use that as your source and bring those in as you need them into your website or your e-learning project.